Well, thank goodness this timeline's much easier to understand than Kingdom Hearts. What's up everybody, StevDeS here. As you all very well may know by now, I love Mega Man. The franchise has been a beloved one ever since I was a child. Every timeline spot that every game takes in really has a spot in my gaming heart. Yes, even the ZX ones. Shut up, the gameplay's solid. What a lot of gamers don't know is that this franchise actually exists on a split timeline, all starting with this man, Dr. Thomas Light, or Dr. Tadashi Hikari, as the network timeline suggests. However, we're not talking about Battle Network or Star Force. We're instead going along the other side of the timeline with Dr. Thomas Light of the robotics timeline. The point in the timeline we're going to be focusing on is the period between 2000X and 22XX. This period of time spans the classic era with classic Mega Man, the Reploid era with X, and the Mega Man Zero timeline with Zero. However, during this portion of the timeline, it doesn't paint a clear picture as to what happens, but consider this video more of a theory and how I see things going forward from Mega Man Classics era. That being said, this is not a video of pure fiction. I'm going to be drawing elements from other Mega Man media in order to make my point solid about this. Clearly, something had to happen to classic Mega Man in order for X to happen, and something had to happen with X, or Zero in that timeline, in order for Mega Man Zero's timeline to start. This is a story telling where all of these things started to fall into place. These events are not only going to shape the timeline as we know it, but it will also help us answer a theoretical question that's been on my mind since I picked up Mega Man Zero for the Game Boy Advance. What if Protoman was revived as Zero? So let's get on with this theory about games. No! Naturally, we'll be starting in the classic era and going through what Dr. Light went through with Wily, just so everybody's on the same page. Dr. Thomas Light's experiments were accepted over Dr. Albert Wily's experiments. From this, Dr. Light and Albert Wily do work together on the first of these robots, with Dr. Light leading the charge. The first of these robots being that guy. That one. It's that one. He's Protoman. He's part of the name. Prototype is Protoman. However, it doesn't take long for the bot to go AWOL and completely run out of a lab. Honestly, Light's messing with forces he shouldn't have. Wily's spat with Light occurs, causing the doctors to separate. However, this is still Light's experiment, supported by the government. With total control of the blueprints and design, Dr. Light can clearly say, hey, this robot's meant to do this robot's meant to do this. Every robot will have a purpose. This, of course, becomes the first Robot Masters of the first Mega Man game. And Dr. Light doesn't stop there. At this point, Rock, Roll, Eddie, and Otto are built, along with Gutsman, Cutman, and Electman. Why these three specifically? Well, Dr. Light needs his own construction crew. Eddie and Otto are built for only really two main reasons. One, because Otto isn't a construction bot, he's a repair bot. And Eddie is useful for carrying supplies to and from places. This way, while Dr. Light is building the rest of the Robot Masters, Gutsman, Cutman, and Electman have a way to repair themselves, keep themselves energized, and keep them efficient. Should anything occur, Otto's there to repair. Second, Light needs the lab built a certain way. This is both the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to do it. Let's say you were hiring someone to build a big shed, or a house for that. Let's just say a house. Would you rather pay the workers' wages, pay how much they're going to use, pay for the space, pay for the land, pay for all the supplies they're going to use, and give them a timeline to finish it in? Otherwise, you're going to be paying more out of pocket if they go late. Or would you just pay some guy for the supplies and have him build his own workforce. I'm pretty sure you would do the latter. Naturally, the classic era does continue normally. However, there is one scene that I have to bring up. That scene is from the comics, right after Mega Man 3, where Quickman is discussing Mega Man's motives and questioning why Dr. Light wants to rebuild all these Robot Masters. Light's goal was to reprogram all the Robot Masters and... What do you want, Schmidt? Well, hang on, because the comics were entertaining, not everything in the comics were in fact canon. This scene in particular actually does answer a couple of things as far as where every Robot Master goes. Some decide that reprogramming is a better option and their skills will be put to good use, while others, like Quickman, decide to be turned off. Quickman in particular was designed to fight Mega Man. He was designed as a fighting robot. What use would his abilities have? To go fast? Be some sort of bellboy, busboy, chase down criminals? That's not what he's interested in. Being reprogrammed would change everything about his personality, and some of the Robot Masters agree with him. Mega Man does not take this well, just like in the comic. And after all that work, he does cry about this. He hates that he worked so hard to save these Robot Masters and now they just rather be deactivated. It really hits the spot in the human-like heart. It does hit a soft spot in the robotic heart of our favorite Blue Bomber. Throughout the games, though, this becomes a regular practice. Dr. Light gives the Robot Masters a chance to shine in their societies. And those that don't, they're left to be deactivated and put in the Robot Museum. Unfortunately, every Robot Master that decides to be deactivated as opposed to being somewhat useful, they start weighing down on Mega Man. It starts becoming less and less important to save these robots. And more important to just stop Wily before he builds more robots. Or take some more robots, just like he did in Mega Man 11. With thwarting Wily's plans again and again, Mega Man Classic starts becoming cold to Wily, and hates the fact that he's doing this to kind robots. Robots that want to be a part of it. And Mega Man 11, that is the cutting point. None of those Robot Masters were actually built by Wily. All of them had specific roles. Cases in points. Blast Man is the star of Blast Man Adventure. It's a theme park, and Wily weaponized it. Yeah, Blast Man had a good life. Acid Man was a chemical plant control robot. He actually felt good about his job. He was going to Light to get an upgrade because he started going slower. Robots need that. And Block Man is a construction robot. He's very, very helpful, and I'm sure he works with Guts Man. All of these robots were taken from Wily, and Wily had no business in taking the robots' livelihoods away from them. Things that they liked to do, things that made them special, and weren't threatening anyone. If Wily was just stopped once and for all, Mega Man wouldn't have to keep beating up poor defenseless robots who were just weaponized because of a madman. And he wouldn't have to potentially see that these robots get turned off of their own will. It would get to him so much that after building Zero, Mega Man Classic had enough of it. The next time Wily tried to take over the world, Mega Man ends Dr. Wily right then and there. Wily would die by the hero that has saved the world several times over from Dr. Wily's wrath. This sparks talk all around the city, and after X is built and hidden away in the capsule, Dr. Light knows what's coming. Mega Man just did something. Mega Man is Dr. Light's robot. The authorities would arrest Dr. Light, take him in for questioning, and deactivate all of the robots around the lab, Except Rush. He's not there for some reason. Probably because Mega Man needed the transportation. Betrayed by the people that he defended for so many years, Mega Man would naturally go on the run. He has no way to go back home. He has no home now. One robot was waiting for this, and he is more than happy to have this revelation. Mega Man is alone. He has nowhere to stop and heal. He has no other allies. And he is the strongest fighting robot. Not anymore, because Bass is going to take advantage of this. Bass doesn't have to follow orders. What's more, Bass has treble, and Bass also has several other places that he can go to recover if need be. Mega Man's all alone. He has nowhere to recover. So naturally, Bass bides his time for a few months. Lets Mega Man run out of steam as the authorities are trying to track him down. During the few months, Protoman approaches Mega Man, knowing how rough he's being. Every so often, he does lend aid, here's a spare energy tank, good luck to you. But Protoman can't really support his brother. He kinda committed a murder. However, he does tell Mega Man that he should just give up. This wild goose chase is not helping anything. More so, it's not helping Light's case. However, Mega Man just doesn't want to end up deactivated like the other robots after all he's done for this city. If there's a way for him to get out of it, he'll find it on his own. This talk has happened several times over. And one day, while Mega Man is scavenging for whatever energy he can find, Bass and Treble show up. They fuse so that Bass can show no mercy to Mega Man. He knows if he gives Mega Man an inch, he'll take a mile. However, in the middle of the battle, Mega Man looks into the distance and sees a very familiar figure jetting towards him at high speed. It's Rush. This is a final hurrah, as Mega Man runs and jumps towards Rush, fusing in midair to become Jet Mega Man. However, there is something to take into account. Bass and Treble are much healthier. And unfortunately, Rush isn't so healthy. So, unfortunately, this is the end of the Blue Bomber. Bass finally wins. Mega Man and Rush both lie motionless on the ground. Bass now knows that he is the most powerful robot master alive. And unfortunately, that's not going to last long. Protoman was waiting in the wings. Protoman knew that he can't take Bass on by himself. However, if Mega Man were to wear Bass down, or Bass were to wear Mega Man down, Protoman could come in and end all of it in one go. However, that doesn't mean Protoman is going to get out with no scrapes. He's going to get hurt and maybe miss an arm. However, with the fighting robot battles over, this is where the classic era closes, with Protoman walking to the distance and waiting for his life to eventually come to an end. He's not going to fight anymore. He's just going to let it end. Let humanity do what they're going to do for the rest of the classic era. And this leads into the Reploid era, or X era as some people like to call it. The key point in this timeline is where X5 takes place. Here we see the death of Zero, and yes, while he comes back in X6, a lot of people agree that the canon ending should have been X5, with X taking the reins and using Zero's Z-Saber to keep being an excellent Maverick hunter. After using Zero's programming to get back up, the body's still there. X knows that he should probably give his friend a good burial. And he knows of a nice spot where one other robot in history has come to just decay, alongside a large shield that has gotten rusty over the years. This is where Mega Man X puts Zero to his final resting place. Now, for this theory to be believed, Zero and Protoman have to be buried in this spot. Due to the similarities in their design, when Ciel uses the Cyber Elf in the beginning of the Zero era, by technicality, she's not reviving Zero as is. I mean, look at that design. He's very different, but at the same time, he's similar to Protoman in some respects. Protoman had less armor, and this Zero clearly has less armor than that Zero. What's more is Protoman has no memory of the Reploid era. He wasn't around then. So the memory loss in this case makes sense because the two memories that were buried there, he's getting less than half of the memories he had. No elf can bring you back to life, except for Ciel's elf. Every other elf in the game has specific healing rules where they can heal you, or they become a sub-tank. They'll never revive you upon death. What was left was parts of his body, and the rest of the parts had to come from somewhere. With that, the Zero era begins, and that is my interpretation of the robotics timeline up to the beginning of Mega Man Zero. So what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Maybe there's something I missed? Leave a comment below. And for more what-ifs in the realm of video gaming, like if Zack from Final Fantasy VII actually survived, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. Since starting, this whole notebook has been filled. My hand hurts.